Get in on the action this season with Underdog's Pick'em game. Select higher or lower between 2 and 8 players and compete for up to 325 times your entry. Use code DIRECTOR when signing up to receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. Go to Bolt fam, it's the Director. Chargers fans, this one's probably coming out a little late. I've been waiting for the injury report to drop because look at this, man. There's some big things on both teams that we got to pay attention to this week. It just dropped now. We fired up the stream, or I should say the recording, as soon as possible because, yeah, we got a lot to talk about. This should be a very interesting game. I'm going to say it should be a very entertaining game at that too, man. The Chargers don't let up a lot on defense. That could help them out dramatically this week, but the Saints defense, ooh, that's a hot mess right now, man. And if there's any week that Greg Roman and whatever it is that we've been, rolling out there with on offense the last couple of weeks, it's been extremely disappointing. If there's ever a week that we could correct that, it is this week. Are we hoping, are crossing our fingers and holding our breath? I don't know, but this is the opportunity. So we're going to talk a lot about that. Some returning players, some maybe even debut performances this week. Should be a very interesting one, and one that honestly I think is going to be a much more enjoyable experience for the Chargers this week than it was last week versus the Cardinals. Before we do kick things off, though, man, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog. Use code DIRECTOR to receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Newcomers take advantage. Dak Prescott this weekend. Hey, I'm going to show off a little bit, too. I had an awesome week. I should say Monday Night Football. I didn't post this one. I should have posted this one on Twitter. I ended up winning $388. Super fun, but I should say Thursday Night Football game as well, man. That was entertaining as heck. Glad to have gotten a piece of that one. If you guys want to support my platform in any way and have some fun along the way while doing it, Underdog is certainly the way to go. Before we do kick off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it, baby. Lights, camera, action.
Who's got it better than us?
Into the end zone, Charger fans are witnesses to history!
The Chargers versus Saints. Are we in week 8 already? Oh, my Lord. It feels like we're halfway through the season. No, it's going way too quick. Well, let's enjoy it while we have it. And get it on Underdog, man. Have some fun while we still have some football, man. Win some fun stuff like we did. Hey, let's go over the injury report. This is why we're late this week. This is why I decided to record a little later than usual because there's a lot going on this week. And honestly, I think the biggest motive for me was, one, I wanted to see who the quarterback was going to be for New Orleans. And two, the wide receiver position for the Chargers looked just so bad earlier this week. Take a look at all the WRs on this sheet, man. We had DJ Chark that was limited with the groin. Obviously, he may be making his debut appearance this week. Darius Davis is probably not going to suit up. Quentin Johnston, he's listed as doubtful. That's also pretty bad. This is probably the biggest one I was looking at as well. What was happening with Ladd McConkey? He got a limited practice in today. I would guess that he probably plays. But this all added up, made me think, are we going to finally see that Brendan Rice debut game? I don't know. Maybe we could still. Simi Fehoko has been awesome stepping into that role, so we'll talk more about that here in just a second. Also, I wanted more clarity on what's going on with Joey Bosa. Please. I may be one of the last diehard Joey Bosa fans in the world. I want to see this man back on the field. He's been getting limited practices all week. He's listed as questionable. Will he see the field? I don't know. I'm really hoping it's this week, though. Another shocker for me, and this was posted earlier by Daniel Pomper, Will Dissly was out there on the field, too, getting a limited practice. I would love to see Will Dissly, despite what happens with Hayden Hurst, who is also questionable. I would like to see Dissly continue seeing some reps at tight end 1. He had an opportunity last week. He absolutely killed it. Would love to see it again this week. And then finally, I think, what was the other guy that was coming back? It was, Denzel Perryman. That should be a big help. Now on the Saints side of the football, man, dude, I've kind of gotten used to this as a Chargers fan. Like, we're just going to see a whole bunch of players, and this year specifically, not because, like in past years, we're always cursed, yada, 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 which is kind of still the case in some ways. But on the other side, the Chargers are just extra cautious this season. So I'm kind of going into every week kind of expecting a laundry list. The Saints, though, holy crap, man. They have the same mentality. Of course, they don't have as many specific players saying, hey, they're out or doubtful. They've only got the 3, but everybody else unspecified, who knows? I'm going to guess that a majority of them do play. Some big ones coming back like Chris Olave, Taysom Hill. Alvin Kamara was in question a little bit. He should be fine. Marshawn Lattimore is probably coming back this week. Even the backup quarterback, Spencer Rattler, had a hip thing. He should be fine as well. The big ones, though, speaking of Spencer Rattler, that I was waiting for this list for was Derek Carr. Was Derek Carr gonna suit up? It felt like no pretty much throughout the entire week, but you never know. He's doubtful for this game. I do not expect to see him out there. And yes, that does affect what the Saints will be able to do versus the best scoring defense in the NFL. All right. And then outside of that, what was it? Cedric Wilson, the other wide receiver. It's going to be an interesting game. It's going to make for an interesting situation. Of course, the Chargers probably have more players that bring up concern of missing the game. But I think the big one for the Saints that I was waiting for was that quarterback, because that does shift the way I view the game playing out for the Saints, obviously offensively. Okay, so let's jump into our first category, though, that is heavily revolved around a huge talking topic of the week. I'm calling it Roman's Red Zone Redemption. Okay, I'm a gamer. I love that game. Top 5 game of all time. Don't argue me. You know I'm right. Red Dead Redemption. As far as Roman's Red Zone Redemption, probably bottom 5 game of all time in terms of offense, right? Ha-ha! See? We're circling right back around to it. It's been bad. It's been bad. The Chargers, I don't have the metric. I should have written it down. Probably one of the poorest scoring teams in the red zone this season. It's not looked good. And what's very especially concerning is that even though our run game, which hasn't materialized yet, isn't being forced as much as it was the first couple of weeks, the Chargers have started leaning back into the Justin Herbert, skill set a little bit more, and it still isn't resulting in points. This is the week, though, man. If you were looking for an opportunity to turn things around, to flip the script a little bit, if you're Greg Roman, this is the week to do so. The Saints have a god-awful defense, ranked 32 in the league. The Chargers should be able to win this one through the power of offense and friendship and and determination and honesty and virtues. It really does feel like this is the game to help right the ship a little bit for the offense. And again, I'm not predicting that they will. I'm not predicting that it's all going to be, smooth sailing from here. But if there was ever an opportunity to kind of find that vibe, find that, momentum, find that identity even a little bit of like, what are you? A run heavy, a pass heavy, a run balance? Like, it feels like this is sort of the week that you can figure that out. I was hoping it would be last week, if we're being honest, man. The Cardinals were also not a great defense, and we just had the toughest time versus them. Was it the Monday night vibe? What was going on there? I don't know. But this is another opportunity, even better opportunity this week for the Chargers to find some form of success on offense. For God's sakes, the Broncos and Bo Nix just dropped 33 points on them last week. This has to be a week where we see a Justin Herbert game, right? Of course, you're going to see plenty of running as well, but the Chargers and the Justin Herbert narrative is so different from last season. It's honestly pretty jarring. I'm getting whiplash, right? But at the same time, speaking of whiplash, we've started seeing him flip back to, okay, we're seeing 200-300 yard games pretty consistently. Now we just got to get in the red zone, man. We got to get in the end zone, I should say. We got to get in the end zone, and we got to find a way to do it consistently, because right now it's just not working out. Okay, so if there was ever a week to show that we're not dead in the water, it's this week. And again, Greg Roman does have a lot of opinions to change on that one. We'll talk a little bit more about Justin Herbert here in just a second. J.K. Dobbins. Okay, so now that we know that the Saints have the worst defense in football, let's go ahead and start dissecting it, okay? The Saints defense, we're going to say it again, sucks this season. Of course, I think Marshawn Lattimore is coming back. I think he was just injured for a little bit last week, right? There is some... Paulson Adebo was the one that ended up exiting. I don't think he's coming back. There is some playmakers on the Saints defense that could help them out this week, but one specific stat that they especially suck at is versus the run. The Saints are very putrid versus the run. allowing 146.7 yards per game. I think they're a bottom 3 team, if I remember correctly, a bottom 3 or 4 team. I think it's 3 in the NFL versus the run. I think as a defense as a whole, they allow 25.7 points per game. The Saints are down bad on defense, man. And like we were talking about, and we will talk about again with Justin Herbert, this is also another get-right game. Now, J.K. Dobbins, who I expected to have a much better performance last week, just couldn't get anything going. I hope the Chargers sort of learned from this. And I think a big reason why J.K. was struggling is because the interior of our offensive line, as good as the edges are, the interior is just not good. And the Chargers were trying to get a whole bunch of stuff going. I would say, inside runs, even outside runs were getting blown up from the interior, if you can believe it. It just made things difficult for J.K. Dobbins to really get any momentum. I think a J.K. Dobbins show out this week, though, is much more likely. Again, I think they may even be the 32nd ranked team in the NFL versus the run. I don't remember. They're just really, really bad. And I think it's the bottom 3. And funny enough, their stats, though, 146.7 yards per game, isn't too far away from what we just faced with the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are somewhere at like 139 yards per game. I need to see the Chargers learn from this because, again, last week should have been a big week for them. It didn't happen. I'm hoping that Greg Roman and company and whoever, is trying to fix things out there for the offense really figures out what happened in that Cardinals game and avoids it this week. It really feels like we got to get more space for JK on the outside. We have 2 of the best tackles in football, especially in run blocking. We should utilize the crap out of those dudes and take advantage of a very weak defense on the ground. Again, if JK struggles this week again, we have a serious problem moving forward. We're a run team that can't run. We're an offensive line-minded unit that doesn't have a good offensive line because of the interior. That's what blows my mind. Most teams, I would say every team in the NFL, would kill to have our tackle duo on their squad, but the interior's so bad. It's just, it's hurting it, man. It's holding him back, I should say. And it includes our first-round guard in Zion Johnson. I had big high hopes for him this year, and it's just not working out. Bradley Bozeman, who got a lot of, I would say, off-season hype, has not been good at all. I think he's a bottom, 5 center in the NFL. It's tough out here, man. But this is an opportunity. The Saints, one of the worst run defenses in football. The Chargers, a run-minded, offense with really good tackles, and likely are going to see a lot of help from the passing game to open things up underneath as well. Give space for J.K. Dobbins. I hope and pray that's the direction we're moving into. Okay, and we're going to move into the next segment with that. The Chargers, in my opinion, need to adopt the idea that they are not a run team right now. And this is, again, my hot take. The Chargers are not a run team in 2024. Okay, we don't have all the pieces to accomplish that. This is still a Justin Herbert squad. As much as you want to move into that Harbaugh era, as much as you want to be, ground and pound and old school, style football, we just do not have the personnel to make that happen. I love J.K. Dobbins, but he's not the kind of running back that can overcome the lack of help from the interior of the offensive line as other running backs in the league. Ashton Jeanty, who should be a Chargers target. There's plenty of running backs in this upcoming class that could help out in that. Those are the kinds of running backs that can overcome. Saquon Barkley is a great example. He had a horrible line in New York for a long time, and he was able to be successful despite that. J.K. Dobbins can be amazing, but he needs some help. He needs those interior guys to step up. But I think the biggest thing that's going to help them, or help J.K. Dobbins in particular, is Justin Herbert and this new idea on offense that maybe you are more of a passing team than you are a running team, which will help out the run game, right? It's going to help out what you can accomplish there in the kind of, space that you're going to see for J.K., who needs, honestly, the space to operate and get the most out of him. If you adopt this idea that this is still a Justin Herbert team, it will help out the run for this season, and it'll help you become more successful on offense this season, which is going to be especially difficult for an offensive coordinator like Greg Roman. Greg Roman's the run guy. We knew this. We knew this when he was hired. This is the big thing that we were all worried about. Maybe he's not the best, passing guy. Maybe he's not the best quarterback guy, but man, he can run. Well, he's not running this year, and it's not working. What is working? Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is still working. And there's a way to build that run game over time to get your, again, I'm going to say this, the Chargers should be buyers for running back, whether it be free agency or especially the draft this season. It will buy them time to get that difference maker at running back. Maybe it is JK by the end of the season. I still think he's an amazing running back that is young and could end up being RB1 for the long haul. But right now, we need to know what we are, and we need to run that way. And running, or lack thereof, is probably the way to go. The Chargers and Justin Herbert, he's got some momentum. He had a 200-plus yard game 2 weeks ago. He's got a 350-yard game this last week. He's starting to rev up to the Justin Herbert that we know and love. The Saints also, like we were talking about in terms of terrible run defense, have a bottom 5 pass defense in the NFL too. That's what is resulting in the 32nd overall defense in the NFL, a bottom 3 run defense and a bottom 5 pass defense. Justin, I think we need to focus on continuing building that momentum, getting back to what makes him comfortable on offense, and just realizing that we don't have the pieces to be what you want yet. We're moving in that direction. The extra tackle is awesome. We need interior offensive linemen next offseason. We need maybe an upgrade at running back, which there's going to be so many options next year to help achieve that vision. But till then, let's make sure that we're using what's working. Right now, what's working is Justin Herbert in the passing game. And I honestly think he's going to have a great game this week. Again, like we've been seeing, he's getting back to that good old, Justin Herbert of his rookie season, just chucking it up there and finding ways to move the football despite the lack of weapons that he may have on offense. And speaking of which, let's move on to the next segment. Is this finally going to be the DJ Chark debut game? Is this maybe a Ladd McConkey legacy game? Let's talk about it. Justin Herbert, if you take a look at the box score of last week and Justin Herbert's stats, he threw to, what was it, like 9 dudes? 6, something like that. There was a whole bunch of people with like 40 yards apiece, right? That 350 yards was made up of a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. It felt like that game. I saw it, somebody posted on Twitter the other day, where Phillip Rivers had nobody, and it was literally like Dontrell Inman and Eddie Royal and all these guys, like the backups, like it felt like that. And that speaks to the talent of Justin Herbert beautifully. Like, it doesn't matter. You're going to find somebody. But to the Chargers, it did show that we have a huge problem at wide receiver that might actually be heading in the right direction this week. The DJ Chark return doesn't seem like a big story, doesn't seem like a big narrative by any means, even for me. Like, when we signed him, I was like, yeah, cool, DJ, right? It felt like honestly, the perimeter guy, the Mike Williams replacement, even though he's nowhere near in terms of big play to Mike Williams. He can be at times. We need a perimeter guy to stretch the field. That's just the point, though. Like, DJ Chark may not be, he could. Who knows what his chemistry with Justin Herbert's going to look like. He looked good in the offseason. But he doesn't need to be Julio Jones, right? He needs to be DJ Chark. He needs to be just somebody to help out, in my opinion, the guys underneath. And this is the argument I made for bringing back Mike Williams, who I'm still very much so pounding the table for. More so at this point as DJ Chark insurance, because you want at least one guy available, to work the perimeter for you for the remainder of the season. Having 2 is definitely not gonna hurt your chances there. But DJ Chark, to me, his return is going to help out Justin Herbert tremendously, but more so help out the underneath guys. It sounds like Ladd McConkey could suit up this week. I'm going to guess he probably does, but Quentin Johnston is not suiting up. We're probably going to see him a little bit more Simi Fehoko. Hopefully at some point, Brendan Rice. I don't know what's going on with that situation, but I think it's time that we see him. But that kind of help from the outside. It's going to help out Ladd McConkey quite a bit. I promise you. And this is the biggest reason why I've been pounding again at the table for Mike Williams, is not so Mike Williams can come in here and be wide receiver 1 for this team, but to help Ladd McConkey find space to be wide receiver 1. He's been good when he's on the field. I think the first half of last week wasn't great. You could tell that he was still hurting. But the fourth quarter, he really turned it on. I expect to see something like that this week, where he's maybe more of a fourth quarter, phase already at the get-go. But if he's got help, from a guy like DJ Chark, you're going to see more space for him to separate underneath. You're going to see, a mesh or a slant go for 15, 20 yards more often than not. And that was kind of Keenan Allen's game for a long time. Remember, like, he would, separate and get open. Those third downs didn't stand a chance versus Slayer, but he was able to get some decent yak when he had some space provided by Mike Williams. It definitely wasn't Keenan Allen's, forte, but it really did help out in those moments. I would say it actually helped out less Keenan and more Austin Eckler, if I'm being honest. Austin Eckler was an awesome pass-catching back. You saw some space because of Williams and Keenan Allen. That really helped. I can kind of see a similar situation unfolding for Ladd McConkey here, which is why I think DJ Chark returning could be pretty big. Again, nothing's confirmed. All these guys are questionable. If none of them suit up, you're gonna see Brendan Rice this week and Simi Fehoko and Josh Palmer, right? But until then, I'm excited to see the result of this because let's be honest, guys, there's a lot of rumors going on right now that it could, if the Chargers struggle in this one, it could force the hand of a guy like Joe Ortiz to move in on a receiver like Deontay Johnson. I don't know if you guys heard this. Deontay Johnson is not playing this week for whatever reason. And we know the reason. It's because he wants to get traded. He probably is going to get traded, right? The Chargers should be players there. David Njoku's a big player that I've been pushing forward as a pass-catching tight end and a really good run-blocking tight end. Underrated run-blocking tight end. There's a lot of names. Not Cooper Kupp anymore. I think he's been taken off the table after last night, or I should say Thursday night's. Yeah, last night's, good performance by him. But wide receiver, we need help. DJ Chark will help despite not being a huge name, and it could unlock the potential of guys like Ladd McConkey. All right? Finally, the last couple of points I want to make are actually about the Saints, their roster and situation specifically. Starting off with their quarterback situation, another reason why I really wanted to get my hands on the injury report, because I, for one, as a Chargers fan, I know Derek Carr very well. And even though I've got some Saints friends that weren't a big fan of Derek Carr, now understandably, right? The same thing happened to him in Vegas and in Oakland. But I always felt that the best shot for the Saints is Derek Carr, and that he can be very good. We've seen it. And honestly, it happened at the top of the season. Man, these guys were on fire. Derek Carr was going off, right? And to me, it just felt like Derek Carr's familiarity with us, even though he hadn't been super successful versus the Chargers, did give him a little bit of an edge on his new squad where he has found some major big games this season. I was like, okay, if Derek Carr's in this game, it could be a different experience for Chargers fans than it has been in the past. Well, he's not playing. And instead, Spencer Rattler is getting a shot here, and that does change things quite a bit. The Chargers have the best defense in the NFL in terms of points per game. I think we're under 18, like 17.1 or 2 or something like that. That's crazy to me. And then you put a young quarterback like Spencer Rattler in that situation versus a Chargers defense that's been hugely successful. An offense that last week, again, I do give the Broncos credit. They're a pretty good defense. Really struggled versus the Broncos defense. I think they posted 10 points. Rattler couldn't get anything going. Kamara couldn't get anything going. The passing game had nothing. Of course, they're going to get Olave and I think Taysom Hill back this week. It just tells me that the situation for the Saints is bad, and it's something that the Chargers once again can take advantage of. I do expect Herbert to have a good game, but I also really expect J.K. Dobbins to have a good game because I expect the Chargers to be ahead of the Saints more often than not. That's the expectation. Whether they, execute and find success in that, I don't know. But Spencer Rattler, he's about to get rattled. We about to rattle some Rattler, dude. There is chance that Joey Bosa makes his return this week. That would be devastating to the Saints offense. I'm telling you, everybody forgets, man. And I get, you have every right to be mad at Joey Bosa. He should be available. He's not available. He's more or less off the field, right? Or he's more off the field than he is on the field, which is frustrating. But when he's on the field, he's really good. And versus a young quarterback, not only have to worry about him, but now all of a sudden it does boost Khalil Mack's game. You got Tooley, you got Bud. It's going to be tough out there. Rattler's hard to take down, I'm not going to lie. The Saints haven't given up a crazy amount of sacks. I think they're like 17 or 18 this season. But he is a little bit scrappy, right? And the Chargers have been struggling to bring down quarterbacks, but what they haven't been struggling in is generating pressure. That does affect the outcome of plays. Rattler's going to have a hard time with that. So the Chargers need to take advantage of it big time. The biggest offensive weapon that the Saints do have, though, is Alvin Kamara. Kamara. I think I always go Kamara, right? I don't know. I'm flipping back and forth. I don't know how to pronounce this man's name. But we all do know that Alvin Kamara has been an awesome talent in the league for a long time. Last season, it felt like he was slowing down. Well, he proved everyone wrong this year. He got, I think, another extension too, right? What? How are the Saints printing money to make this happen? These guys have like, was it 50 or no? It was like $80 million. Was it 70, $80 million over the cap already? I don't know how they're doing it. But Kamara's been awesome. He earned the extension, and he is the primary player of their offense. If they're going to be successful, you got to get Alvin Kamara going. I don't know if maybe they do this week. I don't know. The Chargers know it. It's the number one guy to stop. I do expect that we're going to be able to slow him down, but we're also the team that got completely wrecked by James Conner last week, which does bring me a little bit of pause. James Conner is good, but my word, the tackling is so bad. And if there's one player that's going to punish you for bad tackling in the league, it's Alvin Kamara. Dude, this guy, I don't know if he's still the same player in that way as he was in the past, but a big reason I loved Alvin Kamara for the longest time is that his break tackle ability kind of reminded me, in a way, a shadow of like LaDainian Tomlinson. That was one of LaDainian Tomlinson's biggest things, right? And Kamara is really hard to bring down. The Chargers really got exposed last week versus James Conner. It could be a problem. I don't know. It kind of feels like the Murray effect, the Kyler Murray effect of him being mobile did help James Conner quite a bit. The Chargers may have had just an off week. We haven't been the best tackling team, but that was especially bad. You know what I mean? I guess Rattler could, provide a little bit of that running quarterback threat as well, but it doesn't feel the same as last week with James Conner. I think the Chargers can find a way to slow him down. The Broncos already kind of showed us the blueprint on that. Last week, they locked Kamara down very early. He never really got anything going. Man, Kamara must have been under, 20, 30 yards last week? Yeah, they were able to shut him down, and that resulted in only 10 points scored versus the Broncos for the Saints. And if the Chargers can lock him down early as well, not letting him get loose at any point in the game, which I know we're capable of, I think we can really maintain control of the clock here. The Chargers, again, have the best scoring defense in the league. I think we can shut them down, and if we do, I think my score prediction is going to be pretty close to accurate here. Here's my final score prediction for the Chargers Saints this week. I got the Chargers winning this one, 27-9. And again, it's as a result of just what we're seeing in terms of metrics, right? The Saints defense, worst in the league. Chargers maybe not the best offense, but neither are the Broncos, and they dropped 33 on them last week. I would be disappointed if we didn't drop at least 21, 24 points on the Saints this week. They're really bad. And on the flip side, the Chargers are the best defense in the league, allowing only 9 points to a young quarterback. That's, it just kind of feels right to me. That's going to be my score prediction. I think more or less it should be a fun game, though, for the Chargers. I'm to the point now where I kind of like watching the defense more than the offense. So that should be pretty fun versus Spencer Rattler. But also, I'm excited and expecting, and honestly, I'm to the point where I'm demanding the offense to gain some momentum, to find some success. If you don't do it this week, Greg, look me in the face, look me in the eyes. If you can't get it done this week, I don't know where we stand for the rest of the season. That would be scary. Don't scare me. I know it's Halloween. We're all celebrating. I don't want to feel that, though, because that spells disaster for the rest of the season. Sure, we could bring in, Njoku, please, God. We could bring in a pass catcher that could help that situation. And I'm honestly thinking that it would. But we have to find success this week if we have any hope of not just a postseason success, but appearance. We got to get this offense right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you like what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty. And bring me David Njoku. Woo, that would be such a good matchup with Justin Herbert, man. Make it happen. Trade deadline November 5th.